three, a two, a one, a Diet Mountain Dew.
If you counted the other way, it would have been how many licks it takes to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop.
It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name's Mike Royer.
And this week just sucks.
Yeah.
Man, it just sucks.
Man, it was, not only are we in a pandemic, some of us are quarantined, but then Friday evening comes along and, it was like a gut punch, man.
Yeah, so if you've not heard, I'm not sure how this, I think it is the most liked tweet on Twitter now, is, even though there's nothing to like about this, is that Chadwick Boseman has passed away at the age of, I think it was 43, I think.
Yeah. I mean, just shocking. Some people were talking about how, I guess somewhat recently, there was some photos of him online, and people were kind of poking fun at the way he looked, and obviously that they feel horrible about it now. But I had no idea. But even quote unquote in his prime, he looked really good for 40. I mean, my wife and I were both shocked that he was that old. I was like, man, he looks better than I do, and I'm only like 32. Right?
Yeah. I mean, he the reports are that he was battling colon cancer for 4 years, and in my mind, I meant to we got him debuting in Civil War in 2016.
Yeah.
So he did most of his Marvel tenure with this diagnosis. So and you would never have known looking at him in those movies or watching him. So
yeah, it's crazy. It's hard to figure out what to say.
Yeah.
Because if you were on Twitter this weekend, we were talking about that tweet, or even anywhere on social media, I feel like everything has kind of already been said, and I would say said very, very well and very poignant. I think the first thing I did is I kind of went out and I looked for people that knew him, some of the other like Avengers cast, and kind of what were some of their words and some of their stories. And it was cool seeing some of these other outlets start to share videos of like kind of when Chadwick came on their shows. I haven't really been keeping up with SNL over the years, but apparently he had a really funny sketch on Black Jeopardy that I had no idea about.
He played T'Challa on Black Jeopardy.
Yeah,
so
it was hilarious hearing him talk about like potato salad and in that accent. And he did like this funny kind of like prank with Jimmy Fallon where he would pop out from behind a curtain. Where people, I guess, I don't know what the whole setup was, but I guess they were just like, look at this poster of Black Panther and kind of like give some words to Chadwick if he was here.
Yeah.
And my favorite one is when this guy was just like, oh man, I saw it like twice in theaters, and then I bootlegged it and I watched it again, and then he popped out from behind the curtain. He's just like, you bootlegging my movies? That was so funny.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, over the years that we've known him, and just as long as we've been doing the show, I guess, you never hear a bad thing about him. No one has said a bad thing about him in that time frame, and even now, I don't expect stuff to come up. And one of the things is like keeping this to himself, keeping his family, like no one knew. No one had said anything for 4 years, and it being just kind of a shock out of nowhere. That's a good circle. That's a good thing to do if someone can keep your secrets for yourself. So
yeah, it just seems like usually when we kind of lose these like high profile celebrities, it seems to be like sudden, and it seems to usually be tragic in a way of it could have been an accident or something like that. And I hope like his family and also himself found some peace in the fact that, this diagnosis was 4 years ago, and obviously they all hoped it would have gone a different way, but hopefully, they just had an idea of what was going to happen, and hopefully they were able to prepare And it was great that they were able to keep it private, which made it such a big shock, which, they should handle it however they want to handle it for sure. But, I hope, he kind of got his, his final words, he got to do what he wanted to do in like his last weeks, months. Yeah. I'm curious if we have anything to expect from him. He obviously does not owe us anything, but it would be so cool if maybe he had written some final words down or something like that. But like we said at the top of the show, we're in this pandemic and this quarantine, so I don't know if there's going to be any sort of like mass gathering for him, because he obviously touched a lot of people. I think the last thing that kind of happened maybe of this magnitude, especially that connected with the communities that he touched, was probably Kobe Bryant at the beginning of the year, but that was just before the pandemic. So I don't know, I guess we just kind of wait and see. But man, yeah, that Friday was just like we got the news like maybe, I think it was like 17 minutes after it happened, because I feel like when I opened up my Twitter account and I saw the timestamp of 17 minutes ago, and I was like, oh man, this is like so new, this is like so fresh. And
yeah,
man,
well, and it was one of those things, again, talking about keeping it secret, it allowed his family and his estate to make the announcement, and it wasn't anything through like any other like TMZ or like one of those leak websites, so that's kind of a blessing for that. And then he also did other movies in the meantime, other than just superheroes, but that's what we're talking about. So the 21 Bridges, I think, Defy Bloods with Spike Lee, or Spike Lee? Spike Jones?
I believe so.
Spike somebody. It's the most recent one. And then he's got one movie to come out on Netflix, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, that he's already filmed.
Spike Lee, by the way.
Spike Lee.
I thought it would be best to double check.
Yeah, thank you. So he's got one more movie left. People were asking me, did they already film Black Panther 2? They have not filmed Black Panther 2. So no. We're not going to touch any of that this week. So
yeah, I think we both decided that. Well, even though we both kind of find our happy places and kind of talking about the future of Marvel films, now's not the time. But we do. When I was looking up on IMDb, I think we might get one last bit of him as T'Challa in the Marvel What If series. I don't know if they actually put him, I don't know if they ever got him in a recording booth, but I believe he was to reprise. I don't know, since it is a What If series, I don't know if he literally was going to be the Black Panther again, but it seems like we are going to be getting possibly T'Challa again, his T'Challa.
Yeah, in the previews that Disney did last year, he was actually, what if T'Challa became Star-Lord in some of those images. So I think, again, that a lot of those voices are done, but yeah, we'll have to see how that happens.
Yeah, so that'll be really, really, really nice to see. So looking really, I mean, I was already looking forward to that show, but now even more so. And
tonight, it's Sunday, you guys probably are listening to this on Monday, ABC is doing a commercial-free showing of Black Panther on the network.
That's so cool.
And then a tribute to the King afterwards. So they were able to turn that around pretty quick. So that's it'll be Sunday night. We'll probably talk about it maybe a little bit more next week if whatever comes out of that. So, all right, Mike, let's move on to the next thing. Yeah,
gotta shake off these awful vibes, man. It's just, it's always kind of weird too to grieve somebody you don't know. So you kind of have to deal with that whole thing too. But yeah. What an awful weekend, man.
Yeah. Well, maybe this week we can both revisit some of his Marvel movies. He definitely had more time in Infinity War than Endgame. But I haven't watched Black Panther in a hot minute, I feel. So.
But as this show is always meant to do, no matter what's happening out there in the world, we want it to be a place to entertain and entertain you, possibly make you laugh, make you think. So the show goes on.
Yep, and I was going to say, that's my segue into the Quaran-Stream. Next week might have some Black Panther movies, but this week's Quaran-Stream
Ooh,
definitely another story.
Quaran-Stream. All right. Come on over, kids. Come on over, adults. I got the bean bags. I recently got a futon out of the garbage. Don't worry, I checked it for bed bugs.
Yeah, I don't.
We got
I don't
lots
like
of room.
This is not. This is not the state of the world to be pulling furniture off the street, Mike.
Yeah. So we'll start it off with a back-to-back camping movie selection. I know the other week I talked about a back-to-back Michael J. Fox. Now we got 2 camp movies, which, looking it up just before the show, I realized they came out consecutive years from each other, 94 and 95. So first up, this was really fun because this was a camp movie I had never seen before that's on Disney Plus, but that my wife grew up with, had seen it plenty of times, called Camp Nowhere. I'm not familiar with too much of the cast, but it does star Christopher Lloyd, a.k.a. Doc Brown from Back to the Future, and it was great to see him in this role. This would have been after Back to the Future, but I usually don't see him in things out of Back to the Future, so it was cool to kind of just see him as like this almost kind of like hippie burnout theater teacher who kind of gets hired by a bunch of kids to put on a fake camp. Mm-hmm. So these kids don't have to go to like computer camp or military school for the summer. So it's a fun ruse. This definitely seems like a movie that I really would have emotionally connected to when I was a kid, but for some reason I just never saw it. So I saw it now just a couple days ago. Chris, was this ever on your radar?
Yeah. I mean, this was definitely on my radar growing up. Again, after last week's episode, my mother decided to listen, or ended up listening to our podcast and telling me about the places where they had video rentals in my town growing up. But I definitely remember renting this and seeing it. I believe it was on HBO. It's one of those other movie channels that's like after it gets off HBO, it goes there and you have to pay extra for it. But I remember wholeheartedly watching both the movies you're going to talk about, but also Camp Nowhere, which is Jessica Alba's movie debut. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah. We she does not have a starring role. She's not like any one of the main characters. But we were watching like a montage towards like in the third act of the film where they're kind of like putting the camp together in the final act, and there's like this shot of like, wait, is that Jessica Alba just like in the background? Yeah. Like I don't even know if she has a speaking role in the movie.
Yeah. I remember. I mean, I remember this. Again, Christopher Lloyd. It's feels like not Richie Rich, but like that era of film, definitely.
Yeah,
so.
And also like I have a soft spot in my heart for different types of genres of films. Like obviously, I love Prison Break and heist movies. Those are kind of probably one of my favorite genres. A good thriller every once in a while is great. I love the theme of transitional teens from like the last summer before they go to college, like Super Bad, Book Smart, Can't Hardly Wait. And camp movies are also very close to my heart. So we got to follow it up with a camp movie I grew up with, but my wife had never seen. So this like perfect yin and yang with us, which is Heavyweights, which is a great movie about a kid who gets sent to fat camp. But when he gets there, it ends up being really, really great. He makes a bunch of friends that are all also fat, and they're very proud of their weight, and they cheer their other campers when they weigh the most, and they clap them. But then Ben Stiller comes in, buys the camp, and turns the whole thing upside down. It's just great, and I've watched it so many times growing up. There's like this. It's not a derby. What's it called at the end where they're all like competing? It's like a triathlon type of thing, but I don't know. The word escapes me. But they're competing with like a neighboring camp of kids that, aren't fat. But there's like this awesome go-kart scene at the end. It always made me want to drive a go-kart when I was a kid. But I was shocked as many times if I'd seen this movie as a kid, and I'm a current day fan of Judd Apatow. Yeah. This was a Judd Apatow movie. I had no idea. He wrote and directed it, and apparently he stars in it, but we couldn't quite figure out who he was in the movie. We thought he was the cameraman, but the cameraman just kind of looks like Judd Apatow. It's a totally different guy, so I don't know where he is in the movie. So apparently it's a character named Homer.
he didn't direct the movie. He just wrote the movie.
He didn't?
Nope. Stephen Brill directed the movie.
Oh, okay. I think what it was is in the opening credits, I think it's listed as a Judd Apatow film because I believe he's listed as producer and writer. Okay. Either way.
But it's got, again, classic, Ben Stiller, kind of pre-Dodgeball Ben Stiller kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's great because with very, very little mental gymnastics, this is almost like a Globo Gym prequel because he's nearly playing the exact same character. So it's very, very fun to imagine that when the falling out happens with him at the end of the movie, he goes on to create Globo Gym. And even the colors that he uses when he buys the camp are kind of similar in that purple to the what are they, the Cobras or something like that in that film. And I was really happy to see that my wife loved the movie as well. So these are two great camp movies. Watch them in that order too. Camp Nowhere 94, Heavyweights 95. I think even kids nowadays would like them. It's weird. I think I connect so much to the camp movie because I never really had the very not cliche, but the very iconic camp experience. You know, I never got sent away for like 6 to 8 weeks to live in a cabin. My parents were probably more like, "We're not going to spend that money. You're just going to stay here at home and play video games."
It's cheaper to make you miserable here than to send you somewhere else to make you miserable.
Yeah, and also all of these camp movies, it's usually the kids complaining. Like these two movies, like the main characters originally did not want to go to camp because they didn't want to be tied up. I think in Camp Nowhere, I don't know, it's one of these camp movies, but they're like, "Oh, you're going to camp," and they're like, "No, I had plans this summer. I was going to chill," and I was like, "Yes, exactly. That's what I did during my summers." So there you go, solid start to the Quaran-Stream, 2 back-to-back camp movies.
I don't know, where did you watch those at? Was my question.
Both of those are on Disney Plus, actually.
Okay, that's what I thought. I know Heavyweights I think was on Disney Channel growing up. I didn't know the other one, so that's good. So you can just pick those up there. Yeah,
so I started strong. Now I'm gonna end weak. There's this new Fox animated show called Hoops that landed on Netflix this weekend. I don't know the exact studio behind it. It does seem like it has a similar art style to like kind of if you mashed up Rick and Morty with Bob's Burgers. So I think it's in the Bob's Burgers studio realm. But it's written by somebody who had worked on some who had been staffed on some TV shows in the past. I think they're credited for working on the new Animaniacs reboot. So it's not particularly coming from anybody high up on the totem pole, but it's about a coach who's voiced by Jake Johnson, who did the older slobby Peter Parker in Spider-Verse. Who plays like this very crash coach who's teaching high school basketball that has this dreams of becoming more successful and owning an infinity pool. But the first episode is very not safe for work. There is a lot of swearing. I feel like if you did a Control F on the screenplay for the first episode, you would just get the F word like 1,000 times. So I did some searching on Twitter, and some people say they get it gets better and you might get hooked around episode 3, but personally for me, I just could I love me some adult humor, but this is the kind of the not smart side of adult humor. It just kind of seemed like how kind of gross and weird can we be without being super funny. So I don't know if that sounds like up your alley and you want to stick with at least 3 episodes. It might come in handy, but I don't know if I could recommend Hoops. I don't know if you've heard of it, Chris.
I not until you said it, and still haven't seen anything on it. So
yeah. I mean, it popped up in the top 10 for Netflix this weekend, so it might show up for some of you, but don't watch it with your kids unless you're okay with them hearing tons of swearing, and there's lots of reference to genitalia. So I would say if you wanted something like that and you haven't seen it yet, watch Big Mouth. It's less crass, but adult humor, but a lot smarter, I would say. So Hoops, that one's kind of easy to kind of chuck away. But the last one, this one made me and the wife very angry. We felt like we got an hour and a half stolen from us on a premise that seemed very, very, very promising, but just they totally miffed it. And that was The Binge, which came out on Hulu this weekend. And the premise is basically, what if The Purge, but instead of murdering, it's drugs and alcohol. So the movie is set up with a whole lot of B-roll and narration, and that's not a very good start. Trying to explain that, this is the world. Drugs and alcohol were out of control, so they outlawed all of them. but they let people binge one time a year. And if you're 18 years or older, you can binge, get it all out of your system. It's the exact same premise, but I could look past all of the technical faults of this world that they're building if the movie was funny. But the movie's just not funny. There's like one or two chuckles in this whole hour and a half film that stars some people that we were excited to see. Vince Vaughn plays the principal, and I would say he does a very good performance, but it's just there's not much worth in it. I never remember this kid's name, but he was in Booksmart and also Santa Clarita Diet, two things that I really, really liked. He's kind of the main star. And then another kid from Booksmart is in this as well. So there was a lot of cast of and stuff that you've seen before. Like Booksmart is another film about kids that want to go out and party. And I would say just go watch that again if you've seen it already. It's much better. But man, they really let this premise fall to the wayside. I don't know why you would focus on 18-year-old kids, because whether you're in a binge-like scenario, even if you're in our actual world, you'll come across 18-year-olds that have never drank or done drugs before. So the premise just seems totally wasted on them. And also it seems like your world would have changed a lot more. Like they go to a restaurant that's kind of like a TGI Fridays, but there's still like a bar there and a bartender, but that person would only work like one day a week. It seems like you would remodel your entire restaurant franchise if you couldn't serve alcohol. And they also even say at the very beginning of the movie that they sell the drugs and the alcohol every year to the highest bidder, but these teenagers just kind of go to the TGI Fridays and like buy shots. And it's just like, you couldn't afford those things if you could only sell them like once a year. So yeah, we just got way too tied up in it. In this awful world, and no jokes, and there's a weird like musical number in the middle of it, and just don't watch it. Watch it. Please don't watch it. It's on Hulu. Just go watch it.
Don't tell them where it is, Mike, if you don't want them to watch it.
Well, I only tell them where it is because if you're on Hulu, Booksmart is there. It's like the same premise. That's what drove me crazy, Chris. Oh, I just have to vent for a second. This is what really drove me crazy, is because Booksmart is almost the exact same premise, because this movie kind of follows a bunch of like do-gooder nerds that are going to binge for the very first time. And Booksmart is the same premise about kids that were all buttoned up and they didn't party at all, but they're about to go off to college, so they want to experience what it's like to kind of be like a delinquent for once. So it's like the same premise, but you don't have to use all of this narration and B-roll to set it up. And it's directed by Olivia Wilde, who's going to be directing for Sony and Marvel here in the future. So you get a little bit of that background of her if you watch it. So just in every facet of the way, just go watch Booksmart. It even has a great soundtrack. After you watch that movie, you can go on Spotify and just listen to the music over again. I beg you, do not watch The Binge. It is a waste of your time. I don't want to give Hulu the analytics to make another one.
Well, what's funny is it sounds like the scary movie parody version of The Purge. Like, but there's purging and binging, and like purging's about in terms of word, I know what they are, but it sounds like a parody of that, even though at the end of the day it's not.
But it's just like they just do not lean into their concept that they built in. So yeah, just there you go. That's the Quaran-Stream. Just go watch those camp movies. You'll have a much better time. And then if you want to get a little bit more adult, go watch Booksmart.
Well, it's not done yet. I've got to talk about my 2 movies I watched this week, Mike.
We gotta move corners, Chris. I have people in furniture. Get out of my beanbags. Get off my futon. I don't know what Chris has for you.
No. We're sitting here. We're gonna talk because I want you to be excellent to each other. Okay. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. I dove into these for the first time in maybe 20 years, Mike. Because
sounds like you were preparing for something.
Yeah, the new one, Bill and Ted's 3 Face the Music, which came out this week. I haven't watched it yet. Because what I did this week is down in the middle of the notes down here. But I will tell you, excellent, to me, if I was to one, Excellent Adventure holds up way better than Bogus Journey. Because Excellent Adventure is the one where they have to go and if they don't pass history, Ted, who is Keanu Reeves' character, his dad's going to send him to military school the next day. So they have to go through time to get all of these historic characters for its presentation. And
so now you're talking to somebody over here that has no idea what happens in any of these films. I'm just familiar with what the characters look like and loosely the premise. So Excellent Adventure is the first movie, right?
That is correct, and that's the one that deals with time travel and history.
And it makes sense that you say that one would hold up the best, because usually in movie kind of installments and franchises, usually the first one is kind of the best one.
Well, some people like the second one. The second one's a little different. It's 5 years later, and the whole thing is Bill and Ted have made the universe peaceful, but there's some group in the future now who wants to send robotic versions of Bill and Ted back to kill them and ruin their legacy. And this is the one where we get William Sadler, who played the president in Iron Man 3, actually, as Death. And Death, they have to challenge Death to these games. And it's just like the first game they play is Battleship, Mike. They're not games. So, but they win like every time they play him, and then so Death has to help them get back to where they are and do all this other stuff. So there's no time traveling. It's more about going to heaven and hell and stuff like that. A little bit more. Okay, all right. A little bit more a roundabout way, but it's still got some good jokes. There's like one reference in both of these. They do it in both of them that does not hold up, and I don't think they'll do it in the new one, but I got to check it out. It's and just to show how dated these movies are, they hug each other and then they call each other fags. So I'm like, that doesn't hold up. Geez. That doesn't hold up at all. Why would you do this? But I think, they are both, these aren't movies I'm going to sit and watch actively, Mike. I think I was texting you while I was doing most of this. So, but they're still fun movies to get to. And I think this is the movies that gave people the idea that Keanu Reeves was just stupid as hell.
Yeah, I mean, I can believe it.
Because he, of the two, I think he is probably the least intelligent of the Bill and Ted. But he just nails it. Like, seeing him in that role now, I'm like, that's not John Wick. I don't know what you're talking about. So it's fun to go back and visit those. So I'd recommend you go checking him out. And then what's his name? Man, he's a comedian. I can only think of him from. Man, I forget his character's name is Rufus. And I want to say Carl something, but it's not it. I'll think of it later. But he plays that. He normally plays a comedian, but he was like a very straight-laced person in this, and it was pretty interesting to see it. So that means nothing to anybody because I forgot the actor's name. But man, did you watch Jane Silent Bob? George Carlin. There it is.
Yes. Yeah, I just typed in Rufus and Bill and Ted.
Yeah, that's it. So I can't do that because my keyboard. Yeah, so I'd recommend if you're going to watch the third one or you're looking for some easy comedies to kind of get through. I think they're like 90 minutes each, pretty quick jaunts through time, if you will.
We all need some reprieve from tragedy right now, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's what I'd recommend. What we would also... we're just going to jump on our news here. The first topic of the day, Mike, because we're out of the Quaran-Stream, is actually watching movies, and this New Mutants is out in theaters.
Yes.
If you're going to theaters, be careful, be safe. Try not to, but if you really want to, we're not here to tell you what to do with your life. The movie's in theaters, and we're looking to probably try to do a review next week. I don't know. We're gonna see what we can do for this.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing that's happening right now is the movie is out. We don't recommend people go see it unless they can truly see it safely, but contractually, from a lawyer's point of view, the movie has been in theaters. So now I feel like we're just kind of counting down to when can this stream, when can this go PVOD. I highly doubt that it's going to go the old timeline, back in 2019 where it's going to be in theaters for 2 months, and then 2 more months we'll get the physical, or we'll get the digital then physical release, and then months after that it'll stream for free. I'm pretty sure all of that is out the window. So is it going to be 2 weeks until we can buy it PVOD? 3 weeks? I'm not 100% sure, but we want to talk about this movie for many, many reasons on this show, to talk about the future of the X-Men. Is anything in this movie good enough to carry over into Feige's MCU? Who knows? We don't even know how it ends. It'd be hilarious if there's a post-credit scene in it. I don't know. I've seen some people's kind of loose opinions of the film out there in the world, but I haven't delved into anybody's review yet because we haven't seen it. But Chris was able to kind of get some I don't know. I don't want to say like a nefarious version of it, but we're gonna wait for a better quality version.
We're gonna see what we can do. I mean, this is the first weekend. Again, I know some people. I did see some people on my friends list have went to the theaters to watch it, and they were like, "There's only 6 people in the whole theater." I'm like, well, that's good, but that's not guaranteed every time. And this is an X-Men movie. Last time I was in an X-Men movie, it was a very empty theater for Dark Phoenix. So who knows what people are, how that's going. But I want to review it. I want to watch it, but we're not going to do it till there's a good way to do so.
Yeah, if it comes down to reviewing new movies, I think it's safe to say that we're going to be reviewing Mulan here shortly, because this is a film that we indeed can watch. It might be kind of interesting to hear me talk about a live-action Disney movie, just because it's something that I normally don't do. But also that the Mulan film is supposed to be coming out for free on Disney Plus in December. So kind of Disney's already kind of setting up this timeline of like, just a few months in between pay and for free. So hopefully that accelerates things with New Mutants, which is technically on a different playing field right now.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Mike. Did we see a rumor online this week about how many they have to sell? How many?
Oh yeah, like I think Mulan is looking to get 3 million downloads. Is what they're hoping for. So and that seems like it's really going to be influential for Black Widow as well. So kind of looking through the end of the rest of the year, of this awful year of 2020, where nothing but bad things have happened. Hopefully on the show we'll be able to talk about New Mutants, Mulan, maybe Tenet, if we can ever kind of get it out of theaters. That would be great. I don't know what Christopher Nolan's doing over there with his voodoo. And then Black Widow would be great. And obviously, and Wonder Woman as well. Who knows? That could. I could see Wonder Woman maybe being pushed until like February or March. I don't know if that'll happen again, but
like I said, Warner Brothers got to put something out to make money. So it may be. I know they say they weren't going to do the PVOD, but if Mulan proves successful, Warner Brothers may do that as well.
But I'm really looking forward to talking about more movies that we have actually seen that are new on the show. So everybody cross your fingers. If there's a god that you pray to, is that if you like to like knock on wood or like jump over cracks on the sidewalk, do all of those things and send the good vibes out into the world.
Yeah. Also, with New Mutants, some of the critics, there are, again, some reviews, some sites have scores up, but some critics were refusing to review the movie until a safe screening option is available, which means they were doing like press screenings at like packed theaters and not sending out DVD screeners. And the press were like, the critics were like, we're not going to go sit in a theater full of everybody to review this movie. Like, you need to figure something else out. So the reviews out there may be smaller numbers than or not as prominent reviewers. They may just be early reviewers. So we'll see what that does. Keeping on with the Marvel bandwagon, what we're supposed to get this year. Hopefully we get something sooner than next year. Eternals has removed the word "the" from its title.
All I can think of is the meme from the Social Network, where what is it? Justin Timberlake that says "drop the just." Eternals. Yeah, that's $1 billion right there.
Yeah, and the logo is like, it's like, I think they took it off. It says just Marvel's Eternals, and I'm like, that's fine. James Gunn was on Twitter and jokingly said that Marvel let him have the word "the" for his Suicide Squad, which is the Suicide Squad. So they're pretty good about it. I mean, I don't. This is like a housekeeping item, like nothing.
Yeah, really James Gunn is the lucky man that gets to tread in between two worlds right now, where he's probably going to make. It's safe to say with James Gunn's track record with superhero properties that he's going to probably make a top 5 DC movie for them over there. Critically, financially, I'm expecting things to go very, very well for the Suicide Squad, and he's also very, very well regarded over at Marvel. He's just he's just like a. What do they say? Like a pig in shit. He's having his cake. He's eating his too. I'm very envious of this man.
Yeah, he gets to play with groups of B-list characters and make them popular. So that's good. I still think we're going to talk about that actually more in here. I still think about the videos they showed for that last week. I was really, really impressed with that. Ant-Man and the Wasp has a writer. We knew this before, Jeff Loveness. I didn't know he worked on Rick and Morty for the screenplay. So they've got the story down, right? MODOK is rumored to be the big bad for this movie.
Oh, yes. I mean, that's probably my biggest critique of Ant-Man and the Wasp, Ant-Man 2, if you will, is that the villain was just extremely weak in my point of view. It was cool to kind of just see the characters again. I love how they really expanded on the Wasp's repertoire. It really made her fit into Endgame there in that last fight scene a lot better.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, if they could get a bit this is a big MODOK is huge. I mean, MODOK
literally just a big head.
Yeah, I mean he's set up to he's supposed to have an animated show. He's a baddie in the Avengers game that's coming out. To bring him live action cinematic, that would be amazing.
Well, also maybe he is notorious for working with AIM, which was last seen in Iron Man 3. And mixed reactions. I don't think they did a good enough part with AIM, because AIM is much bigger than just the extremist stuff. That'd be fun to do it, but my only thing is, I really wanted them to dive into the quantum realm more, Mike. We've talked about this alternate.
Oh, yeah, but I didn't really like what ultimately came of the quantum realm at the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Right.
So I think I'm okay with them maybe moving away from it.
But they didn't do anything with it. They just over a radio they went in and grabbed this lady and brought her back, kind of thing.
And then she had powers for some unexplained reason that she could control.
Well, they did explain it, that she was in there and she absorbed, but I think that was a big not a cliffhanger, but you're like, okay, how are you going to answer these? I just hope they give us something in it, no, never mind, she's been out of the realm too long, she doesn't have any powers, move along, or something. But
yeah, so I mean, we've seen Feige, and we've seen the MCU kind of recreate origins and beginnings for different characters. I'm curious what MODOK, how they're going to weave him in, because he's a very bizarre character. I mean, yes, we've seen a talking raccoon and a tree, and we've seen some kind of alien-like beings from Guardians of the Galaxy, but MODOK is not humanoid in any way. I feel like I can't think of a non-humanoid-esque character in the MCU yet. I'm trying to go through the catalog of really Guardians and maybe a little bit of Captain Marvel, but everybody's kind of had 2 legs and 2 arms, right?
Well, MODOK does have 2 arms and 2 legs on his body.
Well, but they're little kind of dangly things.
Yeah, he's not weird, and he's got a gem on his head that he can shoot beams out of. Now they may again change it to something a little different, but I'm in the upcoming game, and you see it in the trailer. He's a human to start, and then he evolves into the head thing later. So we're gonna see how that. So maybe they can borrow some of that along the way.
I'm just looking at pictures of a MODOK on Google. I'm sure it's oh man, I can't wait to see this try to go live action. It's going to be so crazy. But also MODOK, I could totally imagine MODOK in a Guardian setting, because that setting's already kind of wacky. But for the most part, Ant-Man has been grounded in reality, but they've really just changed the shift of size. So this will be a big note change for Ant-Man.
But also, again, we talked about the writer, that's why I kind of wrote this up, Rick and Morty humor with MODOK. It would be about par for the course.
I mean, I could see that working. I mean, very sci-fi on both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, so space and technology. So I'd see it being fun. And then the other thing, the director, Peyton Reed, said that there will be equal billing for the Wasp along with Ant-Man. They're both the lead characters. It's not just an Ant-Man movie, and she's a sidekick. Much like the last one. So
I think that makes sense, because Evangeline Lilly, her character hasn't really gone through a whole lot of changes throughout the movie. I mean, she's kind of worked up to being a hero. That was kind of a big factor of her character, of how do I go from just kind of being someone sidelined to being somebody in a suit. We've seen Scott Lang go from destitute to winning his daughter back to ultimately becoming a major hero. He saves the world after he's caught in the quantum realm for a while. He comes back, and his daughter's older now. So I suppose there's some things that his character could still go through, but I feel like you have a lot more left with the Wasp that you can do.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited to see kind of what's going on with that when it comes out. All right, so we're going to jump gears here into video games, Mike. because of this game and this season, I didn't watch a lot of movies this week or shows. I played Fortnite with the Marvel crossover season has kicked off. And it's called Nexus War, and it ties into Galactus is coming to devour the Fortnite world. And so Thor, who is in the comics right now, his herald, by choice, comes to Fortnite world to protect it.
Man, I swear, just a couple weeks ago, we were talking about Aquaman being in this game. Can you still be Aquaman and go up and like poke Thor with your trident?
Yeah, you can play as all these characters in this world.
That is wild. I feel like people don't quite grasp just how nuts that is, because you have to be insanely popular like Fortnite is in order to convince brands like this to cross over like in any way. It kind of makes you think of like Roger Rabbit when they had kind of like these different cartoons crossing over that would never happen anymore. So it's crazy that in a video game world you can have these two cross over. Well, they used to do it in comic books every once in a while.
Well, here's the other thing with that is Fortnite was the first game to build in crossplay for consoles. So like they're pushing these boundaries for everybody to be in. But this whole season of Fortnite is Marvel themed. Like every character you unlock in the Battle Pass is a Marvel character. And you get, like you said, there's Thor, there's She-Hulk, there's Groot, and he has a rocket backpack that you can get with him. Storm, Doctor Doom, Mystique, and Iron Man. And Wolverine. Wolverine is unlockable in like a month. So
I'll ask you this, expecting you not to know because it's very niche. But the only battle royale game I'm familiar with is Call of Duty, and in the Battle Pass, kind of the more really desirable stuff is later on in the pass. Do you know what character is like the last one you unlock?
Iron Man is level 90, and then his Iron Man suit. So you're Tony Stark at 90. To get his suit, you emote, and he turns into the suit in the game. Is level 100.
Okay, that's really cool. Yeah, I was curious who they were giving top billing to.
These are other than Wolverine, I think these are in order of release as well. Wolverine is he has a special side quest that unlocks every week, kind of like the Intel stuff in Warzone.
Yeah, I watched the little kind of cinematic trailer for this because that's usually about as much as I dip my toe into Fortnite. I really like the aesthetic of the world. They've done a really good job, much like Funko with their pops, of kind of, creating kind of a graphical look that can adapt to other things. And they're really lucky that, comic book characters look really cool in the Fortnite aesthetic. I love that Wolverine in that trailer when he has kind of like these kind of boxy, kind of like chunky hands, I would say, and then the claws come out of him. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. I want that as like a figure. I know that they sell Fortnite like action figures because I've literally seen children run into the pharmacy or into CVS, into their like toy area to grab them. So that would be cool if Marvel gets the same treatment, because that would just be kind of cool figures to own.
Yeah. Well, they're all really cool because they all come with their regular skin, and then they all have what are called, they're not legacy challenges, but once you level them up a little bit, you get the ability to emote into a different mode. So She-Hulk is Jennifer Walters, and then you emote and she turns into She-Hulk. Mystique has an emote that if you kill someone and you emote, you become their skin. She uses her Mystique power, so you look like them. And Doctor Doom has a big Doctor Doom chair he sits on when he wins, kind of thing.
Yeah, so I just looked up Marvel Fortnite because I wanted to kind of get another look at the character designs, and I see this news article here that says it looks like Black Panther is supposed to arrive in the season. So I don't know in what capacity, but that's really cool.
Well, the other thing is Silver Surfer is a purchasable character, much like you buy a regular skin in Call of Duty. So Silver Surfer is purchasable as of last night. So I believe, maybe not weekly, but every month or every 2 weeks there will be another one. But I did see the Black Panther rumor. They just don't have the designs in it yet. The Captain America was purchasable on the 4th of July. Before they did a Black Widow and a Star-Lord previously as well for the in-game mode. So there's been some Marvel crossovers before, but a whole season of Marvel. If you're a superhero fan, this is definitely the video game month to be in for Marvel fans. So
Oh yeah, no kidding. Yeah,
So-
I'm just looking at that. I like Wolverine's costume. He's kind of got like these kind of like black shoulder pads, and he's got these kind of blue kind of like fins on the side of his suit. Yeah, it looks cool. And then Thor's looking all crazy with that Herald kind of design.
yeah, so they also have ability tokens in the regular modes for this game we kind of talked about. So like, if you beat Doctor Doom, he's also an NPC in the game. If you beat him, you get his gloves to do blasts, or there's a Groot ball that heals you, and you can roll through stuff and knock down builds.
So you may have literally said this, and maybe I just blinked for a second. But is Rocket just on Groot's shoulder all the time?
No, he is that's Groot's unlock later, is to get Rocket as a backpack.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So he's not in there unless you equip it later. Baby Groot is also a backpack.
Oh, that's cool. Wait, that's two Groots. Well, I guess there can be multiple Groots. That's okay.
Yeah. It's Fortnite. None of this crossover stuff really matters. But it's really fun. It looks like there's going to be more this season. Again, this is only like 4 days in, so definitely be bringing updates as we come through this for the next 10 weeks. It ends November 30th, so yeah, I'm looking forward. Oh, and the other thing is a higher level, so if you get above a level 100, Mike, you get foil versions, gold foil versions, and holographic foil versions of these characters.
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah, so just like old comic book covers that were meaningless. Yeah, it's really fun. I'm really digging the details and stuff like that. So if you're into Fortnite, it's free season. They got free stuff in there. But if you buy the battle pass, you get all the cool skins as you play. The other thing, Mike, I just showed you a picture as soon as I walked in the house before we recorded. My Marvel Avengers game is here. It is beside me in a big box.
Yeah, what's in the big old box? That's one thing I didn't ask, is what is contained in the box besides the game.
In the box, I've got it right here, contains a 12-inch full-color Captain America statue.
Oh, cool.
From in the game. A 6-inch Hulk bobblehead, not a Funko, just regular bobblehead. Avenger pin, a Black Widow belt buckle, my 18th Mjolnir keychain, a steelbook of the game, and Iron Man's prototype blueprints.
I would give a challenge to anybody out there who wants to buy the license to make a Thor merchandise, is to dream up something that's not the Mjolnir keychain. It's very, very cool. I also own one. I bought it a while ago, and it's very cool. It has a nice little bit of heft to it. It's like in the side of my car door. So like when I'm like driving, when I used to be stuck in traffic, and I'm not stuck in traffic anymore right now, but I would just play with it. I would swing it around and pretend that I'm Thor. But like, think of another collectible. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, they could be, maybe make it Stormbreaker at the very least. I'm just like, you got to think of something else.
Yeah, I maybe a Stormbreaker cheese knife.
Yeah,
because it's got a sharp blade on one end of it.
I like what you're thinking.
Yeah, have some fun with that. But I think that, this game comes out. There's a CG trailer for this for release week. They put up several blog posts detailing, how their battle pass system works. Which all the characters have a free pass and a paid pass, but they unlock all the paid pass for the 6 original characters for free. So any new character will be like $10 extra to buy their paid pass, which that's pretty fair, I think. And you get the money back in that, like regular battle passes, Mike, we talked about, where they give you coins back. So you've put $10 in. By the time you get the next one, you'll already have put you already have the money back.
I'm afraid, Chris, you're already in a database over there at Square, and you're listed as a whale, and they're just going to be like, what can we make this guy give us money for? You're going to be hyper targeted, man.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, that's perfectly fine. They know what I'm about. I'm not spending money eating out, so I gotta spend it somewhere. But
I'm excited. I'm excited to dip my toe in. Like I said, I'm waiting until kind of it actually releases. I've only avoided kind of the pre-release stuff just because I couldn't. I want to mentally wrap my head around it when it's actually out. So it sounds like that's going to be this week. I need to go on PlayStation and quote unquote pre-order it just so I can get the download going at the right time. But I just have no idea. Like, I think the last time I really looked at this game really hard was at Comic-Con last year when we kind of saw all the footage that they showed us in Hall H. Yeah. So I've just seen clips and bits and bobs since then. So I'm looking forward to see what it has to offer, man.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited to dive in. The beta was just a sampling I want to know the story and all that other fun stuff with it. And the CG trailer, it's not gameplay, but it shows you like you get to play as all these Avengers and combine them, your abilities and stuff like that. One of the things I also learned, one of the things in the battle passes, or it's also going to be in the story, you can buy different or acquire different takedown animatics. So we talked about how two people can team up to take down like a bigger, like a stunned large enemy. You can get different ones, so you're not using the same one every time for that. So that's going to be one of the cool things they put in the battle passes. So it's coming out this week. If you're gonna, it's the pre-order preload is already up for PlayStation, which gets 3 days early, so we can start on Tuesday. If you're listening this Monday, go ahead and get it on PlayStation. Go that way. I think Xboxes might have pre-early. I don't know. Mine doesn't come in until Tuesday either, so we'll see. But yeah, excited. Raya and the Last Dragon is an upcoming, I believe this is a Disney animated movie, correct, Mike?
Yep.
And they've released their first in-movie CG rendering of this, of the character Raya and her little pet here. I think her pet's name, I don't have it written down here, but they have announced that Kelly Marie Tran of Star Wars, the newest Star Wars, is voicing the character of Raya as well.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's just kind of staying within that Disney family. There's been some kind of concept art that came out of this film, I think a few months ago. So it's cool to get a rendering. I don't know if I mentioned it on the show, but I watched the Frozen 2 documentary that's up on Disney Plus right now. I think it's 6 parts possibly?
Yeah, probably.
But in many of those episodes, they kind of cut to this master kind of war room for the film, where they sit down with a bunch of very smart people to ask them questions about like, oh, what can we fix in the story? I believe this would usually happen after like a screening of the film. Like, oh, what problems did you have? What did you like? What can we fix? And I thought it was really cool that they had the team, like the directing team and possibly the writing team from Raya and the Last Dragon, or Raya, I don't know how to pronounce it. They had them in that war room. So it's kind of cool that over at Disney Animation, they have like all of their talent just kind of working together to make their movies better. So it was kind of cool just to see that like even when Frozen was being made, they were kind of leaning on some of their other talent that's kind of making their next film.
Yeah, I mean, they tend to do that. I think the director of Raya and the Last Dragon did I just looked it up, did another really good Big Hero 6 was his other Disney movie, which is I think it's a good movie. So the description they also gave for this movie is, as an evil force threatens the fictional kingdom of Kumandra. They had to put fictional in here just in case you didn't know. The two must leave their heartlands home and track down the last dragon to help stop the villainous Drun. It
looks like we're gonna have lots of weird characters or weird animals, because I'm looking at this thing and it looks like a bear that's crossed with like a roly-poly bug, which kind of makes me think of Avatar: The Last Airbender with all of their spliced together animals. So it's weird to think that with this weird kind of animal that a dragon is still like a unique thing. Is the dragon mixed with anything else? But the art looks cool. It looks like this landscape has like this crazy kind of like circular mountain with a kingdom on it. But yeah, I'm all on board for this. It seems like it's poised to make a lot of money because Disney is usually trying to cater towards our audience and also the Chinese audience. So this looks like it might be up their alley as well.
Yeah, and they did. I mean, I know Pixar's one of their last things was like Coco, which was helps I guess not expose, but like help people be show other cultures to the world. So they do really good at keeping that true to form. The Mandalorian season 2 should be something we get this year, Mike. We're gonna cross my fingers here that nothing else horrible happens. Reports are that Rosario Dawson filmed footage as Ahsoka Tano in the past 2 weeks. Promo footage, and this new footage being added into the trailer for season 2. Hence the delay of that trailer.
Trailer!
Because we are over 1 year since the Mandalorian season 1 debut trailer came out. I know they were also using it to launch the service, and right now Mulan is the focus of Disney Plus. But if we're gonna get it late October, mid-late October, and they drop some Ahsoka Tano footage in there, Mike, would that just blow your mind?
Yeah, that would be rad. I'm curious what she's going to look like. Like, I'm curious how much of her is going to be practical. If any parts of her are going to be CG. You know, are they going to paint? Are they going to paint her, or you know, like Gamora, or are they going to do something digital? I'll wait and see. I think this is another point to bring up, that kind of production of the stuff that we like is slowly starting to pick up under very strict, you know, regulations. So the drought is hopefully starting to ease up a little bit. We're starting to get a little sprinkle. Some of the plants are starting to come back. It's just like, how isolated can your crew be? What can you pull off? And this is all barring that nothing bad happens, you know, like a crew member somehow comes across a little bit of COVID and then shuts the whole thing down. So I'm glad that they see things that are starting to pick back up. Well, we have a lot of friends out here that work in the industry, and one of them works in dailies, which is kind of the bridge in between the physical on-set production and the post-production. And she had been out of work for a while because, you know, as she said, when things aren't filming, she's not working. But she finally just picked up a new gig. I believe it was a Hulu show. So it seems like things are starting to pick back up, which is good news for us here on the show, because we need stuff to talk about.
Right. And the other thing is, again, just to clarify, again, I know you're not saying this, Mandalorian season 2, I think it's pretty much done. And it's been
but the
done.
fact that they were able to bring her back in to do promo stuff is important.
And the way that we saw the behind the scenes of the Mandalorian, they literally just have the large room with the walls where they film. So it's like having their own little personal filming bubble. Probably makes it a little easier for that one to keep everything very, very contained.
Very true.
So that's cool. The same site is also they've been hitting out of the park with a lot of these reports, is why I say this, is that Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader will be in the Obi Wan Kenobi show. And also featuring Commander Cody in the 212th Clone Battalion. So I'm assuming there's going to be some flashbacks.
Yeah, so one thing that I think would be kind of cool to see, I don't know if it's I guess they can make it canon, if you will, but we have seen Vader at his initial inception in the prequels. We see him go straight into that armor, right? Anakin goes from the lava pit into a black suit pretty quickly. I think there's like a montage where it just happens in like a couple of minutes. But I think it would have been cool to see like a proto Vader suit at some point in time, you know, like maybe, like it seemed like strange that they had the suit kind of like ready to go for somebody mangled to go right into. But if we get to see another version of Vader, like, it would be kind of cool if he had a slightly different suit. I know I'm the type of person that really likes the visuals of like costumes and like the progress of them, so maybe it doesn't make any sense in the story of Vader, but wouldn't it be cool to add canon of this guy in a slightly different look? Like, it doesn't have to be a lot, but yeah, I don't know, maybe he's trying out something new and ultimately it doesn't work and he goes back to the old Vader suit. But you know, if they're gonna go back to him, give me something a little different. I think that could be fun.
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, this wouldn't be necessarily Vader. This would be like, I don't know, 10 years after he's Vader, though.
But it would be a Vader before we originally ever met him, you know, in the very first Star Wars film, and when he was created in the prequel. So it just seems like a lot of time for a dude not to change his look at all. Like, you know, he could have experimented with like a new button or maybe a new pipe that, like a new tubing that comes off of him. You know, I'm just looking for a little something, man.
Yeah, you're trying real hard. I don't think he'll be in there too much, simply because I only say that because Obi-Wan and Vader never cross paths until A New Hope again. So I don't know how much he'll be in there. That was the other thing I was going to say. How much flashbacks to Anakin and Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars will there be, and how much Darth Vader will actually be there with that? Because, you know, I mean, it took them how many years? 20 years to build the Death Star. Right? Because this wasn't operational until A New Hope, and they started building it literally at the end of Revenge, right? So I don't know. Maybe we'll see some more of the Death Star stuff. I'm thinking.
I want a new button. Just give me one new button.
You're not getting.
I want to hear the replica prop forum like go into all the nitty gritty of just like, oh, if you want to be Vader canon from the Obi-Wan show, you got to get this new button, or your cosplay is not going to be right.
No, I think they're gonna spend too much time making sure it looks like the old one more than anything else. But I mean, but either way, I mean, that's cool that they're looking to add more than just just a bunch of new people, right? Like they can tie this in together for that. I said I was going to bring it up, and here it is, Mike. The Suicide Squad movie. The rumored villain will be the character Starro. Are you familiar with Starro at all?
Absolutely not. And then after I clicked this link, I was not expecting this. That's for sure.
Yeah, so Starro literally looks like a large, oversized starfish, and he is purple and has a red eye in the middle, and he sends out little bitty versions of it to latch onto people's faces. Think of the brain slugs from Futurama.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
But they go on their face, so the eye of Starro is now in the middle of that person's face. So some of the footage from last week showed some people in the background with very much purple things on their faces. They look like starfish.
Okay.
And it looks to be that this is like a very badly kept secret, apparently, that the villain will be Starro, and that Taika Waititi will be the voice of Starro instead of King Shark.
That's great. I love this. It's funny because if you move the starfish to the back of the head and hide it, this could also almost be the same villain for Kill the Justice League, the Suicide Squad game, because they're fighting villains. But this seems right up the alley of the Suicide Squad of how do you create a villain that you have to send other villains after. So it does make me think. If we're seeing this comic book version of a villain who takes over heroes, are we going to be getting like a big DC hero maybe making like a cameo like in the third act at the very end? Like, I'm not saying it's going to be Superman or Batman or anything, but who knows, maybe it could just be like it could be like a Robin or something like that, or it could be like Hawkman or something as a starfish on his head, and I'm sure James Gunn will kind of write it in a funny way.
Yeah, I think this is just a weird character, a very large starfish alien that wants to take over everyone, and I think that's right up James Gunn's villains like territory. He did Slither with the slugs that took over people, if you remember.
James Gunn seems like the type of guy that would get along really well with Jason Momoa, and he's Aquaman, and that makes a lot of sense. So that would be, it's all ocean themed. I don't know much about Starro. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a starfish from space and it doesn't live in our oceans at all.
Yeah, he's an alien for sure.
Okay. But it'd be funny if it was Aquaman that was stuck to his face.
But yeah, I definitely don't. If that's who's in it and that's who's voicing him, I'm not going to be surprised, and they're going to save that reveal for the big trailer. I think that's going to be fun. And also, with the Suicide Squad, if one of them gets taken over by the starfish, they just blow their head up. So, because they all got bombs in their heads. So, there you go.
Yeah,
easy. The Warner Brothers press site may have revealed the release date for Zack Snyder's version of Justice League for September 5th of 2021.
Man, that seems like a bit of ways, man.
Yeah, they've been able to add so much dark side lately. I figured they'd have it a little sooner.
Yeah, I suppose this could go one of two ways. It could be finished a lot sooner than that, and then they're just trying to find the right time to market it and plug it into HBO Max. Maybe they could be making some sort of push. This could be a very strategic release. Or, like we said at the very, very beginning when this made official, the Snyder Cut technically never existed, and lots of money and time had to go in to make it an actual thing. So maybe it's truly not going to be done until September. Maybe Snyder's got to take a little bit of time to put Tig Notaro into his Netflix movie. Then he's got to jump back onto the Snyder Cut and do some more renderings for Darkseid. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how much work needs to be done. A lot, a little, I don't know, maybe, still figuring out, again, the name of it still hasn't been finalized yet, even, it's going to be Zack Snyder's Justice League or what, so, there's probably a lot more to it, but I think a whole year is a long wait, but, if they've got other stuff in the meantime, maybe scheduling it around HBO's other originals that already have dates locked in.
Yeah, the only other thing that I could possibly think of is hopefully the world gets back to normal relatively quickly at the beginning of next year, and there's just going to be a big onslaught of releases of movies and streaming stuff, and the Snyder Cut could possibly end up being both of those things that need to have a simultaneous release of theaters and then also streaming as well at some point in time. So maybe September is the only open hole that Warner Brothers has. Like, all these movies that were supposed to come out in the summer are going to get like early release, so that could be a possibility as well.
So HBO Max September 5th 2021 right now. Could be a placeholder, could be real. So we'll keep an eye on that. You shot this news over to me earlier this week, and I saw it a little bit more in detail here. But Netflix is making a live-action Resident Evil series, and they are diving right into this, man. This isn't like, we're gonna do it and that's it. They actually give us the story of what's going on, and that is 8 episodes already.
Yeah,
they're committing to Resident Evil right now.
Yeah, now I haven't seen. It looks like you have some descriptions of the show down here. I haven't seen any of this stuff. So what is this?
So the show will follow 2 different timelines. One is going to be the 14-year-old sisters Jade and Billy Wesker, who are new to Raccoon City. So this their dad is Albert Wesker, who's like a main antagonist in the Resident Evil series. And then in the other timeline is a decade into the future where the T virus has already taken over. One of the sisters, Jade, keeps secrets from her past about her sister, her father, and herself. So it looks like they're going to do pre-virus and post-virus kind of timelines in this family here. So
kind of reminds me a little bit of Arrow, when they would do the present and then they would flash back to the past. So I don't know if they're going to be doing equal 50-50 for this first. And now I'm not a huge expert when it comes to the Resident Evil franchise, but I do very much like the games. And even when I don't get around to playing one of these games, I like to go on YouTube and watch people do Let's Plays of them, because it's very interesting. It's a very fleshed out zombie universe that can get very wild and wacky, and usually towards the end of every game it gets very science fiction. It's like you always seem to start off in some sort of village or town, and then at the very end you're in like a scientific military base, like defeating something with a giant laser beam. It escalates very quickly. So that always entertains me. But as far as I know, to me, this sounds like a brand new. Like I was familiar with Wesker being a villain, but I didn't know he had kids. So this is kind of a cool avenue to go into. It reminds me maybe a little bit of The Runaways, where our main characters don't know that their dad is the villain. And it's kind of a cool angle to look of just like, oh man, we're kids. We have to move to this new town. I don't want to live in Raccoon City. All my friends are back home, but our dad moves around for work a lot. And then, oh crap, he's actually like an evil scientists, and now they're zombies and we got to escape them. So yeah, I think they could really be working on something fun here.
There's again, like I said, there's very little. They don't cover the sisters very much, but having 2 different timelines means, could this skirt around the movie franchise? Probably not, because I think Wesker's in those. So I think this will be a brand new thing and possibly lead into other Netflix purchases in the Resident Evil territory.
I can't imagine that there's a huge Resident Evil game fan that's also a huge Resident Evil movie fan that would be so concerned of the film canon that this Netflix show would come out. Yeah, it does very much sound like a new thing.
Yeah, exactly, and that's definitely cool with me. I think I saw all of those except the last one, and I wish I hadn't. So keep that going. Lastly, Mike, I just saw this earlier, and I'm putting this in here for you because of what you watched last week. So you finally got to watch The Thing, and now John Carpenter's teaming with Blumhouse to reboot the franchise.
No.
So to do a new thing with the creator of the remake, I guess, The Thing, John Carpenter.
Yeah, so I mean, I think I said last week, I didn't necessarily fawn over the movie like a lot of people have in the past. I'm not saying that makes me better than anybody else, but it didn't hit me as hard as maybe some other people that got to see it a little bit earlier. Maybe that could have changed my perception of it, but I would still be down for a reboot, especially if it's helmed by John Carpenter. I watched. I really like Red Letter Media. They do a lot of really fun film reviews and like retrospectives. And after I watched The Thing, and I went back and I watched their look back at the franchise, and they briefly talked about the 2011. Technically, it was a prequel because there's kind of 2 lab facilities in the Arctic.
Yeah.
So, but apparently they didn't like that. They didn't like it. It doesn't hold a candle to the John Carpenter's original. But directors going back to their old stuff. Last time I thought about that happening was with Mad Max Fury Road from was it George Miller, right?
Yes.
George
Yeah,
Miller,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't
And
say
Fury-
Frank Miller. Like Frank Miller. Somebody else.
Yeah, and Fury Road was amazing and astonishing. So, I would welcome John Carpenter back. Blumhouse seems like a good place for it to go because I'm not saying John Carpenter couldn't get the budget that he wants for sure, but Blumhouse usually tries to keep things a little bit more reserved, so that's always good for horror in general. So yeah, this could be cool, and if this is to reboot the franchise, it sounds like maybe there could be more than one film in the works. So, yeah, I'm curious to see what they're going to do. Are they going to go back to the Arctic and just reboot this from the beginning? Or maybe kind of change things up and do a different setting? Maybe they're in the middle of an isolated jungle or the desert or something like that. Or maybe it could be a small town that the thing gets into.
Well, with what Carpenter said, he won't confirm or deny it's a prequel, sequel, or remake. So it could be a sequel. If it's, like you said, if it's somewhere else in a different, what happens if it gets into like a city environment instead of an isolated Arctic environment?
Yeah, I mean, I won't spoil the film if you haven't seen it, but it kind of ends very ambiguously.
Yeah.
So the thing could still be out there. I think he could, or it could just be a new thing could just show up. Maybe new thing crashes on the planet.
Right, because I know the newer one was technically a prequel. So yeah, with Mary Elizabeth Winstead. So there's a lot of places they could do with it. I mean, I know a lot of people are fascinated with this thing that can imitate whatever it wants, but not make can't talk if it's a person. So yeah, definitely interesting to see that what they do with that. But I thought it was cool for you, man. I thought we'd throw that down. Well,
I'm
for
prepared. You. I'm glad to know that I'm prepared for a future movie.
Yeah. That's our show for this week, Mike. We're gonna wrap it up here, get it on our way. If people want to know what you're up to, if they want to go check out your comic, I think, did you post it this week or last week? You posted your comic?
Last week.
Yeah.
But the best place to find all that stuff is at Mike Royer Design on Instagram and Twitter. And as Chris mentioned, you could read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. Chris, if people want to catch up with you, we know you're going to be playing Avengers this week. You're going to be diving deep as you can possibly go into this game because you're a whale and you can go very deep into the ocean. That is Marvel.
Exactly. I've also got like a 4-day weekend. So, just sign me right up. I'm on board here. You can find me on Twitter, Valdan, Valdan, or Instagram, Valdan87. I'll be on there. Or you can find me on Xbox, which is Valdan, and I believe PlayStation's Valdan87. So hit me up on there if you're playing Avengers this week, or not. I don't care. Whatever you want to do. People know more about the show, where they can subscribe, listen to reviews, get merch. Where can they find that at?
Oh, Chris, it's so easy. All you got to do is visit superheroslate.com. That is the hub. That is the repository. That is the Justice League. What is it? It's the Justice League watchtower of the show. Superheroslate.com. It's the best place to get our show notes. So if you want to check out some of those images and trailers that we talked about this week, if you want to see what the hell a Starro is, we got the link in our show notes over there at superheroslate.com. Find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and wherever else you love to listen to fine podcasts like ours. Please like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. If you want merch, just head on over to superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. We love it when you guys reach out, tell us what you like about the show, what you want us to talk about. Were you lucky enough to see New Mutants? If you are, I hope you were safe, and I'm jealous that you got to go out and see a movie. I forgot to mention that I went out of my way online and I bought all of the stuff that movie theaters use to make movie theater popcorn.
Popcorn.
Yeah, and I made some, and I was honestly shocked. It tastes exactly like the movie theater, to the point where it makes it feel like even more of a waste to spend $8 on movie theater popcorn, because with the quantity of stuff I bought, which is the smallest quantity I could have bought, like I can make like hundreds of batches of this popcorn, and it tastes exactly like it, and it's very, very good. So if you're really missing the movie theater experience and you can't get out there, you need the coconut oil popping oil, which is colored with beta carotene. You need a product called Flavacol, which is like the salt seasoning. Then also you need buttery topping, which is basically just oil. There's no butter involved at all, but there's also beta carotene in that also. If you're ever curious how popcorn gets its color, it's carrots. You just need those three things, and you'll make awesome popcorn. And Superfan Jim reached out and gave me some tips on how to use that popcorn stuff properly. But yeah, there you go. If you want to be a super fan of the show, all you got to do is go out and start making some movie theater popcorn. It'll make your week a lot better. And you'll be a super fan of this show. And then if you're a super fan of the show, you can play video games with Chris online.
Yes, that's right. And yeah, I think that's it. Is that it? Are we done?
Yeah, that's it. We're gonna cap off this really, really awful week, and hopefully this new week with our podcast starts off much better.
Yeah. We'll see you guys then.
All right, bye everybody.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.
I don't like canned Diet Pepsi. I like fountain. It's like Taco Bell or something like that.
You're a stickler, I see.